Thanks everyone, wherever you're tuning in, for coming into this afternoon's webinar, PerformanceIN and PartnerIze, on automation, application recognition, looking back on 2019 and looking ahead to 2020. Really excited to be here today as kind of talking through sort of the current state of partner marketing, sort of reviewing the last 12 months and kind of, seeing this sort of glimpse of where the future of partnerships is going and sort of looking ahead of 2020. My name is Mustafa Mira. I work as a senior digital journalist here at PerformanceIN, who will be moderating this afternoon's session with PartnerIze. And we're really excited to have PartnerIze involved with us, as well as three expert panelists from some top brands. So this afternoon, so I'm here with PartnerIze's marketing director of Americas, Holly Brim, who will be presenting today's session, as well as three panelists who we're really excited to have here today, who represent some of the sort of top advertising brands. So we've got, first of all, we've got Tony May, sort of digital partnerships manager at TSB. We've got Jacqueline Gardner, senior affiliate manager for Digitas, who's representing Etihad Airways today, and Phil Twigg, head of acquisition at MandM Direct. So we've got everyone all here this afternoon today to kind of collate their thoughts and ideas and discussions on the current state of digital partner marketing and discuss three key themes driving business growth with real life examples. So these three touch points will include automation, so how brands are getting beyond manual work and driving game-changing strategies; application, amplification, so how data-driven marketing is handling brands to get more from every partnership dollar; and lastly, recognition, how partnership move to the center of brand planning and sort of becoming a top brand priority. So kind of before we all kick off, I've just got a couple of things I was just kind of clear up before I hand it over to Holly to continue on the rest of the session. So just a couple of things for the attendees who are listening in. You can submit questions. So if you hover down to your dashboard, there's a chat box. If you submit any questions you'd like to ask Holly or the three panelists today, we'll run through these at the end of the presentation. So in the chat box below. So the idea is we're going to sort of have the presentation to last 30 minutes, and then I will leave sort of 5-10 minutes at the end to answer any attendees' questions that they'd like to ask the panelists and Holly today. So I think that's everything I'm going to say. So I'm going to keep quiet for now. So I'll hand things over to Holly, who will introduce herself and the panelists and kick off today's webinar.
Yeah, thanks, Mustafa. So my name is Holly Brim. I'm the marketing director for PartnerIze for North America and EMEA. And for those unfamiliar, PartnerIze is a partner marketing technology platform, and we work with really great, awesome people like our panelists today. But before we start, I wanted to describe a little bit more about what we mean by automation and amplification and recognition. So automation, I think we're going to be diving into more how brands are building to automate within the partnership channel and how that's evolved from, in the last couple of years, just to be less manual work and driving more innovative strategies for digital marketing, and especially for partnership. Automation and AI have enhanced, a lot of things for the channel that we're seeing now, and technology and innovations driving this. Especially for partnership program management, like discovering new partners and detecting fraudulent activity and things that can be automated. For amplification, we're looking into how better data is helping brands get even more in return. So return on ad spend will never be an old conversation. As marketers, we're always looking to use better data and to use it in more different ways. So in partnerships, this means like tracking and optimizing really key vertical specific data points that have often been overlooked or even hard to access before. For recognition, how partnerships have moved really into more of the brand planning, becoming a top brand priority. And even as traditional affiliate marketing is really built for performance and at its core in many cases, we're seeing that partnerships have now touched brand teams, especially non-traditional and brand-to-brand partnerships, programs that are really designed for growth still, but also have really strong branding opportunities, meeting two objectives in a single program. So this looks like content partners and influencers and really more unique and creative ways to use the channel. But on that note, I'd like to go ahead and jump into our first question. But if before you answer, if I could have each of our panelists, introduce themselves and their role, what they're working on, who they're working for. And with that, let's go ahead and start with looking back on 2019. What were the big drivers of growth for your partnership program? Tony, let's go ahead and start with you.
Hi, Holly, and hi, guys. Yeah, thanks very much for the introduction. My name's Tony May. I work for TSB Bank. So we're a large retail bank here based in the UK. And we offer a number of financial services products through the digital channel, and then also promoted through the partnerships channel, which we call internally here the aggregator and affiliate channel. So some of the products we promote are things such as current accounts, mortgages, loans, cards, and general insurance. And I'm a digital partnerships manager here, so that means that I look after the promotion of those products through this channel. So essentially dealing with the partners that promote the products, and we use Partnerize as our tracking technology software to kind of monitor all of the activity and then pay all the partners as well. So that's a little bit about me in terms of what we're looking to achieve at TSB. We're quite early on, I guess, in terms of our partnership program. We moved over from 360i to Partnerize midway through last year, and we've had the luxury really of almost having a new program in that we've only got current accounts live on the Partnerize platform at the moment. But it's our plan to launch credit cards, loans, and several other products throughout the course of next year. So very much at the early stages, but we've still got hopefully some good insights to share and some strategies to share with you guys as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Jackie?
Hey guys, yeah, this is Jackie. I work for Digitas. I've worked for Digitas since January 2015, and the entire time that I've been working there, I've been the senior affiliate manager for Etihad Airways, which is our main affiliate client. Before that, I spent 5 years working at AWIN and did a lot of account management there. So I started out in their partnerships team, initially working with publishers, and then moved up to do advertiser account management later. So I've had quite a lot of experience sort of working with different brands and things like that. The program that we run with Partnerize is very broad. So there are kind of maybe 3 or 4 different components that go into it. There are the relationships that we have with meta search websites like Skyscanner and Kayak and WeGo, those kind of guys. We've got several relationships with different affiliate networks worldwide. And we also run for them their remarketing activity. So that's their sort of on-site conversion optimization as well as email remarketing. And we also have a few different relationships to run sort of CPC display partnerships as well. So yeah, it's been sort of a significant benefit working with Partnerize just because the technology and the tracking allows us to monitor the cost for all these different partnerships. So yeah, but yeah, that's a bit about me.
Awesome, thank you. And Phil?
So yeah, my name's Phil. I'm head of acquisition at MandM Direct. So we're a major off-price retailer in the UK. So I'm responsible for all of our paid marketing activities. So that's predominantly everything that we're doing across Google and Facebook, search and display and video. But that also encompasses all of our affiliate activity as well. So we finally ended things after a long relationship with AWIN last year, and then moved over to Partnerize in the early part of the year. So we predominantly focus on our cashback affiliates. That's kind of our kind of main focus through the partner. But we're looking to do some new things with kind of B2B stuff later on in the year as well.
Yeah, sure. Phil, actually, if you could lead, so what are some of the big drivers, like looking back on 2019, what were things that maybe performed well, both in also acquisition, I know that you manage, but even in terms of loyalty and retention, if you have insight into that as well?
Yeah, sure. So for us, our affiliate channel has increasingly over the years become very much a retention tool, more so than an acquisition tool. So just for a little bit of context, we used to do a lot of voucher codes and overlays and things like that. But we kind of cut a lot of that back just because of the negative implications that has on margin. And so over the last kind of 2-3 years, the kind of affiliate space for us has really been focused on retention, and I think that's kind of generally retention is kind of overlooked in favor of prospecting invariably, or acquisition invariably. But there's huge amounts of gains to make here, both in terms of trying to reduce spend on those kind of customers who are going to shop anyway, and who are potentially low value, but then at the same time you want to push more of your resources into those high value customers and those that have high lifetime value for you. So I suppose over the last 12 months, that's been really what's been key for us is kind of growing that AOV, but at the same time growing our revenue and holding costs as well. So we've been able to make huge amounts of savings with the help of Partnerize, and it's been a huge enabler for us to kind of really drive business forward.
Yeah, awesome. Jackie, and does any of that resonate with your program and what you've learned from 2019 also?
I can't, not for me personally, just because we haven't had sort of the same kind of focus on acquisition versus retention. We haven't really looked at those as kind of our KPIs, where we've seen, because Etihad's a global program, it means that it's not like running a UK program, because you might see kind of growth in particular countries, particular markets, much more so than others. So for some people who might say, oh, well, we had a really big 2018, or 2019, I'd say, well, which country are we talking about here? Because if it's the US, it might be yes. If it's France, it might be not so much. And it makes a big difference to us as well, sort of the capacity on the flights and things like that. When those are adjusted, our sales obviously can really go up or they can really go down, depending on kind of what the situation is for Etihad at the time. Just to speak to where we did see growth from, the majority of that growth actually coming from a lot of these what I kind of think of as developing affiliate markets. So sort of a lot of countries in APAC and, India and the Middle East are really you're really starting to see some affiliate networks kind of cropping up there who are getting a bit more serious about what they're doing. I mean, it's a little bit like the Wild West. So it's a little bit like affiliate marketing in the UK, sort of circa 2007 or something like that. It's, there's quite a lot of, brand bidding type problems and things like that we've had to clap down on. But all the same, kind of launching a dedicated affiliate network for APAC, which was Rakuten last year, has really brought about some growth from those markets. So that's kind of where we're seeing the majority of it kind of coming from.
Yeah, great. What about you, Tony?
Yeah, so as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're kind of on a bit earlier in the journey versus some of the other brands on today's panel. So we've got the luxury, I guess, of having a new program. And having said that, we've kind of just been focusing really on our current accounts products this year. So we have, as you're probably aware, financial services is very limited in terms of the number of partners that advertisers tend to work with. So we've had incredible growth of 5 to 7 partners this year, which doesn't sound like much, but has been a big achievement internally just to get the the sign off to bring on board these partners. So a big focus for us really throughout this year has been diversification of our partner mix, and almost demonstrating value in the partnerships program. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining profitability on products. So each of our current accounts we know is worth a certain amount of money. And so as long as we stick underneath that value in a CPS model with these partners, then we've been trying to demonstrate that profitability and therefore enable an element of flexibility in terms of the types of partners we can work with and the types of deals that we can come to with them to promote that. A good example, I guess, of that is diversifying the partner base by onboarding new different types of aggregators into the space, such as Finder and Money Guru. Even we've recently launched with Quidco as well, which is a big win for us because something which obviously has had to go through quite a lot of internal governance. But we've managed to get those processes in place and also launched that. We're seeing good incremental growth from that. And another really interesting thing that we're working on is developing non-traditional partnerships. So as well as the traditional aggregators and looking into the cashback sides, we're also working with a company called Lockbox, which is a savings, almost like credit builder provider. So for customers who potentially don't have a great credit score and want to build up their credit score. It gives them the ability to save over a certain amount of time. And then we've come in with an affiliate model at the end of that 12-month or 24-month savings period where they can open a TSB account, and those customers are opening the account and lockbox are being provided with the commission that we would pay normally to affiliates. So it's just a good example really of a non-traditional partnership that we're exploring, and there's plenty more of those hopefully to come at TSB.
Yeah, that's really great. Thanks for sharing. We'll go ahead and move on, looking into automation. So especially in partnerships is a big theme that we're seeing. What steps have each of you taken to focus yourself and your team more on ideas, since execution can be a little bit more automated? Jackie, I know we were talking about this earlier. If you wouldn't mind starting this question.
We were. No, I don't mind at all. I did. I had a conversation with Holly about this where I kind of essentially said, automation, are we doing that? Was kind of my response to that, because like, I think that there's a great deal of like challenges to automation within affiliate marketing. A lot of the work that we do, like I have a dedicated account manager whose job it is essentially to constantly being exchanging emails with publishers, agreeing exposure, agreeing CPAs, agreeing tenancies, getting all of those, kind of recorded down in a spreadsheet and stuff. And a lot of time I'm like, oh, it would be really great actually to have some kind of platform in which we could just kind of go to that platform, enter the details and just like launch that campaign, and know that sort of within 24 hours or something of launching that campaign, we might kind of start to see some results. So I did think to myself that like, I think there is like a genuine gap in affiliates, like that somebody could kind of be like designing this technology, this kind of ability to book campaigns through a system and then use that system to send out those campaigns and to, do a bit more of the legwork on that negotiation. But yeah, I guess I always compare it to what some of the other channels have got. Like when I look at like display and PPC, I see the ease with which those channels can kind of, use a particular platform or system to launch a campaign, launch it in particular countries, like even like launch it to a particular dedicated audience that they might be looking at targeting or something like that. And that's when I kind of go like, oh yeah, I feel like affiliates is still really behind in this area. And just personally, I haven't really seen that many people kind of, tackle that challenge yet.
Yeah, you make some good points too. Phil, what about in your industry?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with regards to the affiliate space. I think it has lacked in terms of development. I mean, Jackie mentioned about having it not really changing in the last 10 years, and that's probably true of us up to a point recently. But I think with regards to kind of automation, we recently have moved over all of our sort of data into BigQuery, and that's given us a huge amount of idea space to be able to go after and actually realize some of the things that we want to do. So joining up our affiliate activity to our sort of centralized data source just gives us huge amounts of reporting capabilities, but then also opens up more to other things. So a simple thing around automation is we've been able to auto-validate now, which, as anyone who's worked in the affiliate space knows, validations is the bane of your life. And to be able to then just free up things like that with the link up between BigQuery and Partnerize is a really, really big thing. And advancements like that have really made a world difference to us over the last year or so.
Yeah, what about you, Tony?
Yeah, I think we're quite unique in that we've only got a limited amount of partners, so it's probably not as big an issue for us in terms of the scale of the amount of relationships we need to manage and things like that. Having said that, the tech itself really enables us to focus on those relationships with partners. So we know we've got the plumbing in place in terms of the tracking, the commissions, the reporting and the payments, as well as that validations process that Phil mentioned there. Which then enables us to really focus on, some of these items that are going to increase performance for us. So things such as relationships with partners, having that direct relationship with the partners, with the tech underpinning it really helps us, because that means we can get speedier decisions, we can build that relationship, and then even create certain terms within the contract which enables us to test things which otherwise might not be possible. I think that's kind of our view on it. I'm sure as we grow the program and build out new products such as credit cards and loans, as the volumes increase, then we'll be making use of other elements within Partnerize, such as the communications tool and changing commissions in the future and things like that, future data commission changes. But yeah, at the minute, I think we're really making the most of having that plumbing in place and those direct relationships.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Let's go ahead and move on to looking forward into 2020, how each of you are planning to stay on top of competition, looking at competing differently. And that can mean anything from preparing for a cookieless world, GDPR, expanding globally, or API tracking, even mobile tracking. If you could all talk a little bit about that. Let's start with Phil. How about you?
Well, kind of a little bit of all of that. I think the cookie challenge is just that, and that's going to be interesting how we navigate that. I think moving to kind of a more of a first party data led approach, I think is probably going to be the way we're going to go in order to get around it, and just kind of tighten up the areas that we are utilizing at the moment. But in terms of other areas, we're looking to expand. We're having quite a successful time at the moment, so there's kind of the more European sites going live for us. But at the same time, we're just really scratching the surface with the kind of BigQuery integration. There's so much more kind of data that we're able to start doing things with, particularly around our own sort of CRM. So that's just going to open up a huge amount more, personalization being key. There's just so many kind of plates that are going to be spinning over the next 12 months.
Yeah, and Phil, in terms of competition for you, are you using other channels, interestingly, like content partners or influencers, to sort of help your 2020 strategy? Is it on your radar? Yeah.
Sorry?
Is it on your radar?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, influencers, you've just something else that you kind of name check that we're going to be doing more with in the next 12 months. I think in terms of other kind of partners and platforms, I think we're kind of looking to try and consolidate more than launch too much more in that regard, because we try and do everything as much as possible in-house, just because that kind of fuels in-house expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Tony?
Yeah, so 2020 is going to be a big year for us. As I mentioned, we've got our new online journeys back up and running for our loans and credit cards products, which are really going to be the big volume drivers for us. So it's all about really making sure we hit the ground running with those products from January onwards. And in terms of what that means for us, that means that we need to really be integrated with some of the technology partners that are required from an aggregator perspective. And what I mean by that is the likes of HD Decisions. So these are guys who help us to present an eligibility likelihood to customers who are applying or searching for cards and loans products. Because without that, you're not competitive on a number of the key aggregator websites. So I guess that's very specific to finance, but something that we're heavily focused on. And then more broadly than that, once we've launched the new products, I guess it's all about diversifying our partner base, which has been an ongoing strategy that we're going to be taking into next year again. So what I mean by that is certain new partners are presenting themselves. So open banking has really changed the landscape from a finance perspective. So open banking is the ability for or the necessity really for banks to share their APIs with third parties as part of an FCA regulation which came out, which means that there are new players in the space such as Yolt, which is almost like a banking aggregation service that you can have as an app. So it's a money management tool on your phone. And so we're speaking to those guys in terms of a potential partnership next year. It could be a really good opportunity for us to test some affiliate type relationship with, again, like a non-traditional partner. So it's something we'll be pursuing. And there are other types of partnerships as well that we're looking at. So there's a really cool company called GoHenry, which is a kind of kids savings card. It's a prepaid card which adults can buy for their kids. And it makes perfect sense to partner with these guys because at the end of the savings period, when the children make their way to 18 years old, then they're probably in the market then to switch to a real current account. So that's the type of partnership that we'll be looking into in 2020. So yeah, new partners, new channels, and other things on the horizon as well, such as referral marketing. So we already do our £75 for a switch and £75 for a friend, and there may be discussions about bringing that into the partnership space as well, amalgamating that. But yeah, there's all sorts of things going on, and very exciting time for the bank.
That's really cool. I think fintech is such an area of innovation right now that it's really interesting to see what it's gonna look like in a couple of years. Jackie, how about you?
Yeah, I was going to say fintech as well, actually, as well as like push notification technology, which we did like a brief campaign on that maybe a year and a half ago, but we haven't really looked at that again since. So we'll kind of be coming back and coming back and focusing on that again in 2020. To be honest, with a lot of the rest of the program, one of our main goals for next year, which isn't necessarily that exciting, is sort of this consolidation of everything that we've sort of built over the course of the last 5 years into something which is neater and tidier and more manageable, because we went on a huge spree of acquisition, which was working with more and more networks and more affiliates worldwide. And so we really kind of went, right, we want almost as many partners as possible. We went about recruiting pretty much everybody that we could. And we've got like a massive number of relationships now. But you kind of get to a point where you go, well, in order to actually start getting the most out of this, we're really going to have to start to focus on some of these partnerships to get what's really worthwhile out of them, and start to accept the fact that some of these partnerships are not necessarily driving very much incremental value, and kind of start to, shed some of those parts of the program which aren't kind of working as well as the others. Oh yeah, and funny, the last big thing is as you said, like the ITP stuff, sorting out, the dropping and saving of cookies for next year, which has kind of been an ongoing project for the last, again, sort of like a year and a half for us. Is just really getting that sorted, getting the fixes in place to make sure that we're saving all that data, and we're not kind of, having that gradually stolen away from us by, the likes of Apple. So yeah, it's a huge priority for us to kind of get that all in place before the end of Q4 this year.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone in that. We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. I know we've got a couple more minutes, but for our last question, I'd like each of you to maybe mention some mega trend that you think, it might be a game changer for 2020 across, it doesn't have to be partnerships or affiliate related, but something to keep on your radar. And we'll do Jackie, and then Tony, and then Phil.
Okay, sure. I've got two quick ones instead of one big one. The first one's the terribly boring kind of compliancy one, which is definitely getting the ITP stuff sorted. Like we cannot go on pretending that this isn't happening, or that there isn't like a certain amount of danger to our entire industry by the what I've started calling like cookie degradation, like just the deletion of cookies here, there, and everywhere. I think it will roll out on more browsers, and I think it will become a bigger problem. So everybody needs to be focusing on that. On the more positive side, I do think we'll also see the maturation of more of the Middle Eastern and APAC networks, which I know I've already mentioned, but like for us, for any brands kind of looking at going more global for affiliate marketing, like there are networks out there, there are genuine, valuable partners, like sort of a few years ago, like we didn't even know sort of that, you know, Coupon Nation had like an Indonesian website in its group. There's Ebates Korea now, rebates.jp, like all of these guys, like some of them recognizable brands, some of them guys, you know, that you won't be familiar with, but they're there now. And yeah, they're sort of ripe for the picking. So I really suggest sort of, if you are a global brand thinking about launching a network out there.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'll just jump on the back of that. And in terms of a mega trend, I love that word. My mega trend for next year would be partner diversification. So partner marketing as a whole, kind of swallowing up other channels. So obviously you've got your classic affiliate aggregator stuff, but then as well as that, referral marketing, as I mentioned already, it's kind of, in my mind, it's a natural progression of partnership marketing, because referral marketing relies on tracking fulfillment of some sort of reward, which could be in the form of a commission payment. So that's something I'm really interested in personally. And then again, those non-traditional types of partnerships, so stuff which people hadn't ever really considered before, but have always been in the strategy of major advertisers, but just maybe hosted elsewhere. So I think all of those things combined to be put within one partner marketing channel. That would be my mega trend for next year.
Yeah, awesome. And what about you, Phil?
I suppose to sort of mix it up a bit, I'll say I think influencers, and that's it's true. Obviously, it's kind of a trend already, I suppose. But whilst it's a trend at the moment, I don't think it's really been monetized well or kind of KPI'd well by businesses to date. I think it's kind of seen more as a branding exercise at the moment, and kind of linked to the PR. But I think increasingly brands and influencers themselves will get savvier with regards to how they execute campaigns, and how an ROI is derivative from doing so.
Mm-hmm. So no one's planning on advertising on TikTok anytime soon? Any video? So I know we're out of time. If anyone has questions they want to submit in the chat now would be great. I just want to wrap up by saying thanks to our speakers and our panelists today. You guys are pretty incredible and great thought leaders in the industry. We've learned anything from, you know, retention and acquisition methods, changing of the fintech industry, using non-traditional partnerships. Even though it's still challenging to automate some aspects of partner marketing, I think the innovation and the technology that we have now will start to push that forward. And obviously looking to 2020, growing globally and using influencers are, you know, common themes that we hear a lot too. So fantastic. Mustafa, I'll let you take it from here.
Cool, great stuff, Holly. No, thanks again. Just echoing what Holly said. Yeah, thanks again, Holly, and to our three panelists as well for giving your excellent insight and success stories into your partnership programs. I'm kind of looking ahead to 2020 as well. I do have one or two questions, but we do have a question in the chat box from Mike Carney, actually, which is, so he asked, so what type of employee growth do you see for 2020, and what is your number one challenge in acquiring the right talent?
I'm happy to answer that from a TSB perspective to begin with. I guess we're quite unique in that in terms of our partner marketing department, we've only got 3 people kind of working in our team. So I think it's going to be very dependent on the success of the channel, and that's up to us to prove it. In terms of acquiring the right talent, I think that's up to us really to keep our ear to the ground in terms of the industry and making sure that we know the right people, and if we do have openings in the future, to be able to, you know, tap them up, as it were, to try and join TSB on our journey.
Cool.
Yeah, I will say that, like, from an agency perspective, like how much we grow as far as employees is concerned is heavily connected to whether or not we win business in the course of like the next year. So like, you know, there'll be a lot of sort of key pitches and things like that, and you know, as we as we kind of build a stronger client base, we will employ on the basis of that. But we're not with an affiliate network. You generally found that, say, if an account left that network, that wouldn't necessarily impact your job heavily. There was probably another account that you could be assigned or whatever. But agency side, it is a little bit more a little bit more exciting insofar as kind of keeping business can relate very directly to whether or not you keep your job. In acquiring the right talent, like the number one challenge is definitely arguing over that talent with other people who are looking for people who are specialists in affiliate marketing. So I think it will be about kind of offering them like competitive benefits and things like that, and making sure that they feel special working for your business, more special than they would if they worked for a network or someone else.
Cool, great stuff. And I've got another question from Matt Burden. So he says, what are some of the interesting tools you're currently leveraging to recruit new publishers?
I'm happy to answer that one again. So we've got a few approaches really, like the old school approach of just getting out there and meeting people, kind of doing a little bit of market research into the types of customers we want, and then seeing where potential partners are playing in that space. So some of the examples I already gave about Go Henry and Yolt, they're very specific to financial services, but I think you could probably think of many examples of that in various other verticals as well. And then the other areas we go to, I think Partnerize has just released a new publisher discovery tool. That's actually been really useful for us to go in there and have a look at that, just to see all of the publishers that are available on their network. And then there is also a tool, Publisher Discovery. We don't use it here, but I used to use it in a previous role, and that's been pretty helpful. I think they were purchased by, I can't remember the name of the company, but still branded Publisher Discovery, I believe.
Yeah, I know the ones you mean. I met with them at PI Live quite recently, and they have like what I would call like a very, very affordable solution for finding new publishers, like compared to, the agency has a relationship with a company called ComScore, who provide us with some opportunities. We looked into SimilarWeb, but we found that overall it was very, very expensive for the data. So we couldn't pursue that relationship in the end just for the affiliate channel. And the publisher discovery tool on Partnerize has been very welcome this year and has given us access to more partners through that platform.
Cool, great stuff. And I just sort of had one question on my side, sort of kind of going through. I know we talked about quite a lot in terms of you guys sort of demonstrated your kind of success stories with your partnership programs and sort of the techniques you've used. It's kind of I wanted to kind of ask, kind of, were there any barriers that you guys kind of came across sort of when sort of running your partnership programs, or any sort of challenges, and kind of how you kind of overcome them as a team to kind of maintain the success of that? Phil, do you have anything to add?
No, we've not really encountered any such challenges, to be perfectly honest. I think we're in a nice position that we're able to have through Partnerize. We're able to have one-to-one relationships with our partners. So if there are any issues, we can kind of pick up the phone and deal with them directly. So it's not a case of having to deal through a third party or anything like that. So yeah, we're in quite a fortunate position, really.
Cool. And Jackie and Tony, was there any challenges you came across?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I'd say that technology is one of our bigger challenges. Like essentially just because whenever there's technology changes that are required on the actual, client website, then that does need to be, you need to build a business case around that. That needs to be prioritized and sort of put in the development queue as well. So yeah, like there are challenges around technology. Like the best way, to be honest with you, that we found of getting around these is to be more reliant on publishers who have more of that technology set up on their side. So all we really need to do is sort of plug into a solution that they've already designed, rather than need to sort of do a lot of code changes our side, which are just going to be kind of very time consuming and complicated and require a lot of dedicated resource from Etihad. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Make the most of what other people have got.
Oh, great.
And just to add to that, I think the only real challenge we've had from our side since bringing the program in house is really demonstrating the value of the channel internally, and I think that's kind of on us to demonstrate. But it's a case of actually some of the processes internally are probably not quite lined up to how we would like them to be. So, the likes of onboarding new partners have to go through like a very long-winded supplier management process, and then as well as that, raising POs and things like that. We're kind of going through a learning curve at the minute, having brought it in-house, but I think that's the main challenge. But we're amending those processes and tweaking them to make sure that it's as streamlined as possible, so we can really push it in-house. So that's it from a TSB perspective.
Cool, great stuff. And I've got one more question. Just one tip from each of the panelists. It's kind of for those kind of looking to set up a partnership program to grow their business. What one actionable tip that you could share to kind of get them started, really?
I'll just jump in there. I think just speak to your partners, so your top partners, and if you've got a long tail program, then maybe make the most of email communication and set up an event where you can talk them through the changes that you've got in mind and the benefits of doing that and making that change. Partners are going to be receptive to direct relationships and honesty and transparency. So I think that's probably the best first step.
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually, because there's about a million things that you could say. But, I guess going back to what I said earlier, like think about which markets you want to focus on. Where are your customers ultimately, and who is the best, partnership network who's going to help you to target those guys. Like for us, we sort of had to accept the fact that that it would be very time consuming and expensive to have lots of different agency teams based across the globe managing these programs. So what we've done is we've just formed a lot of relationships with different affiliate networks who do have the local knowledge, who do have the local language, and can kind of get us a way in to those markets in order to help start building revenue there. So yeah, I would say find the best network for the local area and rely upon their knowledge and resource.
Cool.
For me, it would just be make sure you've got your tracking and reporting in place right from the off. I think a lot of the time it's kind of secondary to getting the campaign live. But I think getting an understanding of what's performing and what's not right from the start is crucial.
Cool, brilliant. Thanks, everyone. No, that's a good question to round off on. So yeah, I think that's a wrap. That's all we've got the time for today. So yeah, once again, huge thank you for all the attendees for listening to today's webinar, and huge thanks to Ollie from Partnerize and our three panelists, Phil, Jackie, and Tony, for sharing their excellent insight and their sort of success stories for their partnership programs. So yeah, just kind of for those who missed out, and also for those who've listened in today, just a quick reminder: there will be a downloadable recording of this afternoon's webinar session, which will be accessible via the PerformanceIN website, and I believe via Partnerize as well. So you have those over the next 24 hours, which is great. And yeah, so you can catch away all the key takeaways from today's session. And I think that's it. So yeah, so once again, huge thank you to our panelists and Partnerize for hosting today's webinar, and huge thanks to everyone for listening in to the session. And yeah, so from myself and everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll speak with you all soon.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Cheers, guys. Bye.